All right, let's get started. It's my pleasure right at this time to introduce our presenter, Father Ed Erb, the rector of Grace Church Episcopal in Honesdale, Pennsylvania. His background is in as a venturing crew advisor, but I first met him when he was chaplain at Philmont Scout Ranch. He's tried to do that a couple of other times.
Like this year.
Yeah, like this year. We'll let you talk about the second time. And he's also been our chaplain at the National Jamboree. But I also have to say he's also the author of the new Episcopal Scouting Award pamphlet. So we have with us today the author who is going to talk to us about that new Episcopal Award. So Father Ed, or as I have to tell just a real quick story. When I went to Philmont to find Father Ed, nobody knew what I was talking about. And finally, I found a young bearded staff member who looked at me funny and said, "You mean Fred?" I said, "Well, that's right. Okay. Have you seen Fred?" "Yeah, he's in the dining hall." So there he was. And if you look at his name tag very carefully, it said Father period Ed. And you can imagine a bunch of what?
Nope, no period.
No period.
Capital F, small r, capital E, small d. Looking
And
like it's
leave
wrong.
it to a bunch of energetic Philmont staff members to look at that and immediately say Fred, not Father Ed. So without further ado, here is Fred.
Thank you, Lynn. The backstory of that is I'm a Protestant chaplain, right? So to be called Father Ed would just warp the minds of some denominations in the Protestant tradition. So we purposely make my name tag look wrong. And so my nickname for 20 some years has been Fred, thanks to my first youth group. But thank you, Lynn, for putting this presentation together on our not so new offerings of religious emblems for the Episcopal and Anglican churches and for our Scouts. Although let me say from the beginning that we hope that this will not be just for Episcopal and Anglican youth, but those of other Protestant churches who, like us, are sacramentally oriented. More on that in a bit. But welcome to all of you. A couple I have met. Welcome to those of you who are joining us today and in the future on downloading. But as Lynn said, I'm Fred. I'm the rector of Grace Episcopal Church in the far northeast corner of Pennsylvania. And I joined Scouting 30 some years ago when our oldest son came home with an announcement about this brand new program for first graders called Tiger Scouts. And away we've flown. I've been a chaplain at the local, council, and national levels, as Lynn said, at Jamboree and most often at Philmont, hoping to have gone next week for a month, but that's not happening. And I've even led a cavalcade at Philmont and participated in Northern Tier experience in Canada. One son is an Eagle Scout. The other son is a Scout Master now. And our granddaughter is the first Tiger Cub Scout girl in Northeast Pennsylvania, now crossing over to the next level. Lynn, I think we can figure this out. I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourself in the next slides. Oh, you've gone ahead. Show us your picture, Lynn. There you are. Oh, Lynn, you're muted.
I love the screen, but I had to like Fred, like Ed Milbrata here on the screen. We're members of the National Religious Relationship Committee and the Duty. I am specifically with the Duty God Committee, and this presentation today and all the presentations are coming to you on the offices of that committee. So the main committee. I am a retired Scout Master, Cub Master, and you name it, even a skipper, and and a Duty to God retreat leader. So that painting, I think I mentioned the other day, was when I got home from Philmont 55 years ago. Next month, I had got my pictures developed. This was the one that struck me most. That's supposed to, I think, be Black Mountain in the background. And I remember the story of the airplane crash out there. So I said, okay, out there someplace in an airplane. So, and then I asked, and then Fred informed me that the last time he was up on Mount Phillips, the flag was still there.
Yes.
So, so that's me. That's who I am, and we're going to try to do a team approach to this. So I'll turn it back to you now.
All right.
We'll move ahead with the slides and
yes.
Get to our. Sorry, I decided to animate this. So here's our first one.
Very good. Thanks, Lynn. Several years ago, working with Scouts in my own parish on religious emblems, I realized that there was something missing in the program. Not to say that the regular Protestant God in me, God in church, and God in family and all that isn't a good program. It's just that I realized that in the Episcopal Church and in the Anglican churches, as well as Lutheran, United Methodists, and other denominations, we place a high significance on the sacraments of baptism, communion, confirmation. So I thought about writing new books for us to use at an age-appropriate level, which can also be used in Sunday school, church school, confirmation class, and so forth, separate from Scouting. But maybe that will bring some others into Scouting as well. If you go to the next slide, these books can be used not only for Scouts, but could be used in any youth group setting. For example, I include activities that I've used with my own youth group, and such as a cemetery romp on All Saints Sunday or Acolyte Olympics, and I'll talk more about that in a bit. But the Episcopal program is designed to provide Scouts with a course of study under the Duty to God program, and addresses specifically the teaching, worship, and traditions of the Episcopal and Anglican churches. As the slide there says, the Episcopal program is designed, oh, we lost it. Lynn's a little faster than I am. Is designed to provide Scouts with a course of study under the Duty to God program, addressing specifically teaching, worship, and traditions of the Episcopal Church, as I said. And the next slide, then, we have our entry level, shall we say, baptism. Most youth have witnessed baptisms, but don't remember their own. For grades 1 through 3, I explore the mysteries of water, cleansing, the scriptural background of baptism, especially Jesus's own with John the Baptist. And then we explore the church's tradition and liturgical actions, from the great vigil of Easter, which is my absolute favorite service of the year, to a Sunday morning gathering such as your family of faith has witnessed. And you've probably seen infants being baptized if you're a youth, and maybe serving as an acolyte to help at baptism. And maybe you yourselves were baptized at an older age and remember what it was like that day. An activity that you might find fun is what I call the Exodus game, a relay race that can be done with the whole parish family. We've done it in our parish hall and outside in our courtyard. What did Moses and the Hebrew people have to go to get to the promised land? And the idea is to let's find out. Next slide tells us about First Communion. And often in our parishes at grades 4 through 6, we offer instruction on what is commonly called First Communion, although in many churches we offer communion at the infant and toddler stages on up. So we thought that this was a good age at which to approach the subject of communion. This book, though designed for Scouts, can certainly be used in a Sunday school setting for non-Scouts as well. For example, I offer an agape meal as a memorial of the Last Supper of Jesus and his disciples, which could be used on a Maundy Thursday before the actual Maundy Thursday service in the church. In addition, there are recipes that youth can use for making communion bread to be shared on a Sunday morning. And I have to put in a little sidebar there. We have this one delightful little kid in our church who never smiles, ever. So he wanted to have his first communion a couple weeks ago, and we kind of broke the rules of social distancing, but it was all family. Well, I said, well, why don't you take one of the recipes for making communion bread, and we can use that for your first communion with, about 20 people present. We have photos of him making the communion bread with the biggest smile ever. And remember, this kid never smiles. So we actually have 2 loaves of bread that we will be able to use when we can actually have communion again. But if you would go on to the next slide, There are all sorts of activities and worksheets that have been included at each of the 4 levels. You can see one and part of the other, such as activities and word games, like matching St. Paul's fruit of the Spirit in his letter to the church at Galatia with the 12 points of the Scout Law. So you can see where we list the scriptural reading, and then there's a little matching page where they say, well, what does loyalty mean? What does helpful mean in St. Paul's writings? There you can see it even better. And of course, there's only 9 and there's 12, so you have to figure out which ones sometimes correspond to each other. So for middle school students, we have confirmation class books, which parallel the God and Church program. As parish priests and Christian education leaders, we're always looking for creative learning experiences, and especially at this terrifying age of pre-teendom. What does it mean to confirm a reservation made on your behalf, is how I open it up. Jesus made a reservation for us in heaven, but have you called the hotel to make sure that your spot is confirmed and it's already paid for? By whom? Jesus? Really? Cool. And in this book are instructions for Acolyte Olympics. See what your priest thinks about that. Did I mention word games? How about a challenge for your group as to who can complete the crossword puzzle with the most answers, with all the answers, in the shortest amount of time? And if you'd really like, I can send you links for Lenten Jeopardy. My godson, before he was my godson, won hands down. He's now in grad school working on his degrees in serving society. And the last sacrament that we explore is not marriage. For like ordination, not everyone is called to the married life, but everyone, of course, has to live in relationships, which is the name of the last book. Relations such as parents, siblings, dogs and cats, classmates, and yes, even bullies. Good and bad relations need help from God's Holy Spirit to get us through. As teens grow into their own identity and struggle with relationships, we pray that this segment of the religious emblems will help to build good relations and the cessation of abuse. And here we offer work on family trees that can also go towards the genealogy merit badge. Myers-Briggs personality traits. Did you know that you could be a Harry Potter character? Google Harry Potter and Myers-Briggs. I was surprised to know that I'm Luna. I thought at least, don't laugh, Lynn, don't laugh. I thought at least Neville, if not Ron. But Lynn, I'll turn the remainder of the Scouts' duty to God over to you. I've talked enough so far, and we'll wait for questions.
I've forgotten about that. I love Myers-Briggs. If you haven't done it, I'm an introvert.
Yay!
I expend all my energy doing these kind of things, and I got to go rest. But that was a meaning for introvert and extrovert that I never was aware until I went through the Myers-Briggs thing. So I'm also judgmental, so I'm sorry. Okay, there's the religious order title. We're still debating on just exactly whether or not this picture was taken at the summit or at AP Hill. Ed Melbrata might know.
I can guarantee it was at AP Hill at the 2010 Jamboree. Boys Life had a photo team that actually took a whole series of pictures from the Episcopal service at the 2010 Jamboree.
Well, I'll have to send out a correction to that slide then.
That's almost Tico Perez there in line with the tree.
Oh, we recognize something.
I don't recall seeing him there, but I understand what you're talking about.
Well, it was a great gathering, if I remember right. I remember, was Father Garcia the chaplain?
Yes, he was. Yeah,
and he called me excited. He says, we got more than 300 people signed up. I need more elements for communion. So, but what a nice problem to have. So I just reminded you, remember the parable of the fishes and loaves. So,
Well, I'll put it this way. I was a chalice bearer, and by the time we were done, there was a little bit of wine and a lot of water in the chalice.
You figured out a way. So that's what it's all about. All right. What I want to remind everybody now, and I want to be very careful here that we all understand this. Pray Duty to God program is still available out there for Episcopal Scouts. And of course, Pray is located in St. Louis and acts as a clearinghouse for various churches and faiths, and it's also by sponsoring the religious awards. The website is there, and at praypub.org, where you can pick up the workbooks for the typical Duty to God program. But they are also helpful in our Episcopal Award. Father Ed, you might add something there. When they complete the Episcopal Award, there is a form to fill out, correct?
Yes, and allow me to jump in and just thank Jason Nolan from the head honcho at Pray. He has been wonderful at working with us and helping us and putting suggestions in. When you download the booklets, both in the student book and in the leader's book, there is the typical Pray order form for the emblems and the badges and the patches and things like that. But it also specifies that it's the Episcopal version, which isn't really much different. Because when you think about it, God and me is sort of like baptism. God and church is sort of like communion, and so forth. So each of the, God and family is like church. God and church would be confirmation and so forth. There we get them. Yeah, thank you, Lynn. Yes.
By the way, this is a good time to mention too that Pray has just introduced a new program for pre-K called Jesus and Me. I got my first copy of that program here the other day, so I have not gotten into exploring this program. But I tell you what, you get kids together as a Sunday school group, or say your scouting programs within your church or a retreat. I mean, it's for the whole family now. Literally, the whole family has a place to go when you want to work on any of these programs. And same thing's true over here on the scouting side. So I guess I should have had a third slide in here that would have brought in our baptism, Holy Communion, confirmation, and relationships, but they basically align right in here. So, but we did want to let you know there is a connection through Pray to the Episcopal Award, but the Episcopal Award we'll talk about in a little bit. It could be, its origin is in the Brotherhood, and we haven't said anything about the Brotherhood yet, but we will. I'll tell you what, just real quickly, this is a picture of a religious service going on at the Episcopal Diocese of Texas Episcopal Camp Allen, which is not too far from where I live here in Central Texas. So we've had a number of these over there, and just as an example, back in the old days with the Duty to God program, the kids in the God and Life program would write confessionals. The God and Church program would write a prayer of thanksgiving or a confessional. So this is an example of one of the scouts holding up a prayer that was written by one of the age groups, and they were in part of the church service themselves. So that's always a lovely part of doing that. Here Lynn? Again, yes, sir.
I look at my clock and I see it's 23 minutes or so, and we have, I think, 25 to in our limit.
Is Amanda?
I have about 15 more minutes before I need to.
Oh, okay, good.
So you're okay.
Great.
We're good.
All right, thanks.
I'm sorry, we are. Get two winded guys like us, and then who knows where we'll go. But we're excited about this program. Here again, once you've completed the Episcopal Religious Award, here's what the medals look like. I want to pinpoint the one here that's God and Church that has an Episcopal shield in it. This is the way, at least you can make the God and Church and the God and Life badges an Episcopal type award. you can add the shield in the ribbon. I've talked to Jason Nolan at Pray about, someday maybe we have if there's a way to put a ribbon here. There probably is. And if we could figure that out, then we could also make these, you could also make these Episcopal. But it's not just the Episcopal, the church, the Methodist, and anybody else, the Baptist, they all have emblems that could be added to the awards that personalize them. The knot down below, of course, is the knot recognized by the Boy Scouts of America that a scout wears on his uniform for life. I always love that part of it. What I want to get into real quick now is to remind everybody that there is an adult award, and the Episcopal Church and through Pray recognizes what we call the St. George Award. It's pictured here. It is I think Father Ed is wearing his around his neck, and I'll proudly hold mine up. If we have enough time, we'll have Fred tell his story. I'll hurry through this. The St. George Award is for adults only, and I would like to mention that it is dedicated to the patron saint of scouting, who is St. George. If you recall, Baden Powell, the founder who founded scouting when he was an officer in His Majesty's service, St. George was also not only the patron saint of England, but the patron saint of the military. The St. George Cross today is not only the red in the Union Jack, the British Union Jack, but the Red Cross in the Episcopal Shield, which recognizes our church's origin in England, and as our church is a member of the Anglican Communion. The St. George Award has in its center St. George slaying the dragon, and there he is. Oops, I'm going to lose that for sure. Let's go back to my slide there. Thought I could zoom in on it. It didn't work, but he is there. And historically, we recall that George, being a Roman soldier in the 4th century and a Christian, was one of the church's earliest martyrs because he refused to renounce his faith. So that's how we get our military connection to St. George. Eventually, Baden Powell, being a military person and an Englishman, hey, we all come together under that St. George Award. So there's a lot of history behind it, and it's a wonderful history too. So let's go on to our next slide. The St. George Award is a national recognition, and it's to acknowledge distinguished service by an adult. And that could be in the areas of spiritual, mental, or moral development of our youth. It's open to any adult, men and women, lay or ordained. You can be a priest, you can be a lay person, you can be a Sunday school teacher, you can be a member of the vestry, or you can be a part of the scouting committee. You are one of the qualifications. It asks that you serve youth through the church in one or more of the many groups that are recognized nationally. For example, the Boy Scouts of America, the Girl Scouts, 4-H are just named 3 of them. You could also would be a part of any number of church organizations, such as our Brotherhood of St. Andrew or the Daughters of King. And here's an important point. You cannot nominate yourself or your spouse. Folks, this is an award that you cannot earn. It is an award that comes to you in recognition for the service you've given. Usually that service recognizes that, usually 5 years or more of service and leadership to a church organization. The program, in this case, is administered by Pray in St. Louis, where you'll find an application. If you have a copy of this or you want to copy this down, here is the point in the website at Pray Pub, where you will find adult nominations, and you simply select the Episcopal Church. The application is quite lengthy. I did have one handy here, but I don't see it now. But the application must include a letter of recommendation stating the reasons why the individual you are nominating should receive this award. And then that application must be signed and approved by the rector and by the vestry, and then submitted to the diocesan bishop for his or hers approval and signature.
Lynn,
Now, there- Yes.
we're changing that process. It gets submitted to the Brotherhood of St. Andrew National Office in Louisville, who then will forward it to the Scouting Committee, Brotherhood Scouting Committee for vetting.
And I have put that footnote at the bottom of the slide. And they are absolutely right, because in fact, if you had your own Episcopal Scouting Committee in a diocese or in a Scout Council, you could use that and your chaplain to that committee, and then route it through the bishop as need be. So yes, there are alternative routes. And if you have any questions, that's what we're here for, is for us to explore that with you. Real quickly, I just want to put in a slide here on the Brotherhood of St. Andrew. And I want to emphasize that our scouting committee, as it was the Episcopal Scouting Association, no longer exists, and it's now a committee of the Brotherhood. I put the website in there where you can go to find the information on scouting, as well as the new religious award booklets. Ed, can you add to that? Ed is our vice president in the Brotherhood for a few more months for scouting.
Yeah, basically, when you go to the link that Lynn references in this slide, you will find a resources link on the scouting page, which will include not only the booklets for mentors and youth for earning their religious award, but also other scouting resources relating to Episcopal scouting. If you guys have any questions with respect to Episcopal scouting, you can email me at scouting@brothersandrew.net.
So, Ed, go ahead. Ed makes a great straight man, because we're finished with the presentation and ready for questions. If anybody has any out there, unmute yourself and do it verbally, or you can use the chat room there. Any questions?
This is John Lyon, and I just thought I would mention quickly how appreciative I am for you guys to be able to come forward and give this presentation. I serve in my council with the Council Religious Relationships Committee, and we're constantly trying to make sure that not only are we accurate when we talk about the religious emblems, but we make sure to give out the correct references. And so you just given me material to update and make sure we get all of the Atlanta Diocese Episcopal churches the right information. And along with that, I will say that we do encourage any of the Protestant churches to take a good look at the God and Me, God and Family, because we've got an ally there that we might not think too much about, but is essentially a general Protestant class at that age group. And it's very, very good to be able to have others who might not be affiliated with a particular congregation, but they're scouting in the area and they look for something from a Protestant point of view. And I think that works very effectively. So thank you both, or all three, excuse me.
Thank you. You know, it goes without saying, the wonderful thing about the Pray booklets and the wonderful thing about the new Episcopal Award booklets is that you don't have to use them in scouting. They can be used for Sunday school. They can be used for general education of our youth at all ages. And it just so happens, if you complete it at the end, there's an award. It could be a patch, it could be that medal, it could be any number of things. And of course, for the scout, it's a lifetime achievement. So, by the way, I did mention too that with the St. George Award comes the adult religious knot, which is the reverse of the colors there. It's I think it's a silver background. Whoa, I know, it's happening right. I can't get up that high. There. It's the purple knot with a silver background. So another lifetime award that you can wear on your uniform. Any other questions? Gee, this was easy. Amanda, if you can unmute for a moment, our presentations will be available out there to the public, won't they?
Yes, they'll be put into the Google Drive, and we're sharing the link for the Google Drive on our social media pages and emailing it out to participants.
So that's another way, gentlemen, that and ladies, if we have any, that if you happen to have some folks that have questions about the Episcopal Award and would like to see some video on it, as well as the hard bit presentation. We send them to the Boy Scouts of America and the Interfaith Week presentations. And there is this presentation that's labeled the Episcopal Scouting Awards.
Lynn, I just uploaded to the chat my email address for the Brotherhood for specific religious or specific Episcopal scouting questions. So that'll short circuit things and get them where the question could be answered more quickly.
Okay. Let me ask Amanda, can we update our existing presentation?
Yes.
Can I
Can
I just forward it to you?
Yep.
Okay, if you personally and not to the Google Drive.
Correct.
Okay, Ed, I will put that, I'll make some corrections on one of the two slides, and I'll put that in there as part of the Brotherhood slide.
Great.
And we can put our, Fred, we can put our emails in there if they have the questions as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
All right.
And John Lyon for the Atlanta, we'd like to have him involved. Spread the word.